Hey everybody, welcome back to Midnight Meteors. This is the place where we kind of come together, kind of chill out, and we, share some stories that we find in the darker corners of the internet. And tonight we're gonna read. My boss gave me one rule as a 911 dispatcher: if a call comes from an old house on the county line, let it ring. Last night, I answered. This is by Gamalfrank, or the Supreme Frank. As of recording, it's a day old, this story, so he is very active. And from what I could tell, he is writing non-stop. And I reached out to him, so I do have permission to read this, and I hope that I don't do him discredit. Please go follow him on Discord. Go follow him on Reddit. It also looks like you can go support him on Facebook. It looks like, or his donate some money towards him for doing a good job. Please go show some love. Let's dive in to the story. I've been a 911 dispatcher for 12 years, the last 7 on the graveyard shift. You think you've heard it all after that long. The drunks, the domestics, the panicked fumbles of words after a car crash. It all becomes a kind of white noise. A rhythm of human misery you learn to navigate without letting it touch you. You have to. It's the only way to stay sane. My district is a sprawling, sleepy county that dies after 10 p.m. It's mostly soccer moms and retirees. The worst we usually get on a weekend is a noise complaint or a teenager who's had too much to drink at a bonfire. The job, for me, had become a recycle of caffeine, fluorescent lights, and the low, constant hum of computer servers. Deeply extinguishedly tired in a way sleep couldn't fix. The calls were just blimps on a screen, voices to be processed, categorized, and dispatched. I was a human switchboard for other humans' worst days. The first call came on a Tuesday about 3 months ago. It was 2:47 a.m., the deadest hour of the deadest night. The line lit up on my console, but not in a usual way. It wasn't a cell call with a GPS ping, or a landline with a registered address. It was just a raw signal, designated was unregistered VoIP. Not unheard of, but rare. I click it open. 911, what is your emergency? Static. A thick, wet sound, like listening to the radio underwater. It crackled and popped. And underneath it, I could just barely make out a sound, a whisper.
Hello? Can you hear me?
It was a child's voice. A boy, I thought. Maybe 7 or 8. He sounded like he was trying to talk without moving his lips. This is 911. I repeated, my voice a little louder, a little clearer. I can barely hear you. What is your emergency? The static swelled, almost swallowing his voice whole.
He's back. The man in the mask is back.
A chill, cold and sharp went down my spine. It was a professional chill. The one that tells you this is real. This isn't a prank. Okay, son. Where are you? I need an address.
Hurting my mommy.
The whisper came back again, breaking with a sob. A static sound like a swarm of angry insects now.
Daddy's asleep on the floor. He won't wake up.
Son, I need you to tell me where you are. I can't send help if I don't know where you are. My fingers were flying across the keyboard trying to get a trace, but the system was kicking back errors. No location data, no subscriber info, nothing.
The old house.
He whispered, his voice fainting.
At the end of the road. Please.
Then the line went dead. Not a click, not a hang-up. It just ceased to exist. One moment was there, a line of static and terror, and the next it was just a dead channel. Even without an address, the old house at the end of the road was enough. Out on the western edge of the county, there's a long, unpaved road that just sort of peters out into the woods. And at the end of it, there's one house. A big, derelict, Victorian thing that's been empty for as long as anyone can remember. It was a local legend, the kind of place kids dared each other to spend a night in. I dispatched a patrol car. My senior officer, a guy who's been on the force since before I was born, came back over the radio about 15 minutes later. His voice was flat, laced with the kind of annoyance reserved for rookies and time wasters. Dispatch. Car 12 here. The patrol is secure. No sign of forced entry. Place is boarded up tighter than a drum. There's no one here. Hasn't been for 50 years by the looks of it. 10-4, car 12. I said, my own voice betraying none of my confusion. Are you sure? The caller was a child. He said his family was being attacked. There was a sigh over the radio. Listen, the dust on the porch is an inch thick. The border on the windows are gray and rotten. If anyone's in there, they're a ghost. We're clearing the call. Tell whoever's playing games to knock it off. I logged it as unfound and tried to put it out of my mind. A prank. A sophisticated one. Maybe using some kind of voice changer and a VoIP spoofer. Kids these days. I was too tired to care. The week later, at 2:47, the same line lit up. The same static, the same terrified whispering voice.
He's in the house. I can hear him walking.
This time I felt a knot of ice form in my stomach. Son, is this the same color from last week? A choked sob.
He has a mask on. The one with a scary smile. Mommy's screaming.
Faintly through the storm of static, I thought I could hear it. A woman's scream, high and thin and disoriented, like a sound being played backwards. I'm sending help, I said, my voice tight. Stay on the line with me. Can you hide?
In the closet.
He whispered.
He's coming up the stairs. I can hear his feet.
The line went dead. I dispatched 2 cars this time. I told them it was a repeat call, possibly a hostage situation. I didn't want them to be complacent. They took it seriously. They set up a perimeter. They used the ball horn. They broke down the front door. The result was the same. An empty house, thick, undisturbed layers of dust on every surface, rotted floorboards, peeling wallpaper, the smell of decay and forgotten things. No footprints, no children, no men in masks, no sign that a human being sat a foot in the house in decades. My supervisor pulled me aside the next morning. He's a large, patient man who has the wearing look of someone who's seen it all twice. He told me to drop it. It's a glitch, he said. He said, not meeting my eyes. Some kind of cross chatter from another jurisdiction, or a reoccurring electronic echo. Don't waste county resources on it. If that call comes in again, log it and move on. But I couldn't. The boy's voice was too real. The terror in it was primal. You can't fake that. Not even the best actor in the world can fake the sound of a child who's thinking his mother is being murdered in the next room. The calls keep coming every Tuesday around 2:47 a.m. Each call was a slightly different piece of the same horrible puzzle.
He's hurting Daddy now. There's so much red. Mommy stopped screaming. He's looking for me. I can hear him opening doors.
Every time, I sent a car. Every time, the result was the same. The cops got angrier. I was the boy who cried wolf. My supervisor gave me a formal warning. My colleagues started looking at me, funny whispering when I walked by. They thought I was cracking up. Maybe I was. I started losing sleep. On my nights off, I found myself staring at the clock, my heart pounding as 2:47 approached. The silence was somehow worse than the calls. I became obsessed. During the day, instead of sleeping, I went to the county records office. I needed to know who owned that house. The paper trail was a mess. It had been sold and resold, owned by banks and holding companies, but I kept digging backwards, through dusty ledgers and brittle property deeds. Finally, I found it. The last family to actively live there. The deed from 1968. A nice, happy family with a mom, dad, and 2 kids, a boy and a girl. That wasn't enough. I started spending my days in the library's basement, scrolling through decades of local newspaper on a squeaky, ancient, microfiche reader. The stale, papery smell of the archives filled my lungs. I was looking for anything related to the house, to that family. For weeks, I found nothing, just property tax notices and school honor rolls. Then I found it, an article from a cold, late autumn day in 1975. The headline was stark. Local family slain in a parent home invasion. My blood ran cold. I zoomed in, my hands trembling as I adjusted the focus knob. The picture was grainy, black and white, but it was the house. The same steeple, gables, the same wide porch. Police cars were parked haphazardly on the overgrown lawn. I read the article, my heart hammering against my ribs. A husband, a wife, and their 10-year-old daughter found dead in their home. The cause of death was extensive. The article was vague, using phrases like brute force trauma. The police report mentioned a possible intruder. A figure a neighbor had been fleeing into the woods, described only as a Tall man wearing some kind of pale, expressionless mask. But the last paragraph was what made me stop breathing. The family's 8-year-old son, it read, remains missing. Police found evidence he was hiding in the upstairs closet during the attack, but the boy has not been found. A statewide search is underway. Authorities have not ruled out the possibility that he was abducted by the assailant. The crime was never solved. The masked man was never found. The little boy was never seen again. I sat back in my chair, the library basement suddenly feeling like a tomb. The static, the whispers, the closet, the man in the mask. It wasn't a prank. It wasn't a glitch. Was I listening to a ghost? The next day at work, I felt broken. I walked into the dispatch center like a zombie. The hum of the servers sounded like a funeral dirge. I couldn't keep it in anymore. I had to tell someone. I grabbed my supervisor and one of the oldest dispatchers, a woman who'd been there for 30 years, and I dragged them into the break room. I laid it all out. The calls, the timing, the empty house, the microfinch articles. I showed them the copy that I'd printed out, the grainy picture of the house, the headline. I expected them to think I was insane. I expected them to tell me to take a leave of absence. They didn't. They just looked at each other. It was a look I've never seen before, of a grim, tired resignation. My supervisor sighed, a big, heavy, rattled sound, and rubbed his temples. The older dispatch, she just stared at the article, her face pale. "So it started again," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "What do you mean, started again?" I asked, my voice shaking. "What's going on?" My supervisor sat down heavily. "Kid," he said, he looked like 100 years old. "We need to tell you about the man you replaced." He told me the story. The dispatcher who had my seat before me. He'd been a good man, sharp, diligent. About a year before I was hired, he started getting strange. He was obsessed with a specific address, the old house at the end of the road. He kept sending cars out there, insisting there was a child in trouble. The patrols always came back empty. He started pulling old files, spending his days off at the library. He became withdrawn, paranoid. He claimed he was getting calls no one else could hear. "We checked the logs," my supervisor said, his voice low and serious. "The system never registered the calls he said he was taking. We pulled the audio recordings of his consult. There was nothing on them but dead air. We thought he was having a breakdown, stress of the job. My blood turned to ice water. The system, it doesn't log the calls for me either. They just show up on the screen and then disappear. They don't go into the call history." The old dispatcher nodded slowly. "We know. It's the same. He told us what the calls were about. A little boy, a man in the mask." I felt like I was going to be sick. "What happened to him?" I whispered, though I already knew the answer. "One night," the supervisor continued, his eyes fixated on the linoleum floor. "He took a call. We saw him on the console, talking, his face ashen. He was typing a report. Then he just stopped. He stood up, grabbed his jacket and his keys, and walked out without a word. The call was still active on the screen, but none of us could hear anything on it. We just saw the open line. Where did he go?" "He drove out to the house. His car was found parked on the road the next morning. Engine was cold, doors were locked, he was gone." The silence in the room was absolute. "We searched," the old dispatch said, her voice cracking. "The police did a grid search of the entire woods. Dogs, helicopters, the whole 9 yards. They went through that house from the attic to the cellar. They found nothing. No sign of a struggle, no footprints, no him. He just vanished. Wiped off the face of the earth." I stared at them, my mind struggling to process what they were telling me. Why didn't you warn me?" I stammered. "How could we?" My supervisor shot back, with his voice raising with the frustration that he had clearly been festering for years. "Hey, new guy, welcome aboard. By the way, this consult might be haunted, and the last guy who sat here disappeared. Don't worry about it. You'd have to thought we were crazy. We thought he was crazy until you came in here today with the same damn story." He leaned back, his eyes locked into mine. "This is what we are going to do. The next time this line rings, you do not answer it. If you answer it by mistake, hang up immediately. Do not talk to him. Do not engage. You terminate the call and clear the line. That's an order. Do you understand me?" For a few weeks, I was just a ghost of myself. I did my job on autopilot. Every sound, every flicker on the screen made me jump. I dreaded Tuesday nights. I drank so much coffee I could feel my heart rattling in my chest. Just to stay sharp, to stay vigilant. I thought about quitting. I thought about just walking out and never coming back. But where would I go? Then last night it happened. It was 2:45 a.m. I was staring at the clock, my knuckles white from gripping the edge of my desk. The minutes flicked by like hours. 2:46. My mouth was dry. My heart was a drum solo in my ears. 2:47. The line lit up, the unregistered VOIP. It felt like a physical blow. I flinched back in my chair. Training, my instincts, every fiber in my being screamed at me to answer it. There was a child in trouble. That was my job, but I remember the pale, haunted face of my supervisor. The story of the man who had been vanished. You terminate the call. I let it ring. Once. Twice. The flashing light on the console seemed to sear my retinas. My hand hovered over the button, trembling. I couldn't just ignore it. I had to answer it. I had to. I clicked the button. 911, what is your... The static was a roar, louder than it had been before. It was a physical presence in my ear, a wall of noise. And through it, a boy's voice came, not whispering this time, but screaming. It was raw, rugged, sounded of pure agony and terror.
He's got me! He's got me, please! He's taking me! Please, sir, don't let him take me! Help me!
The sound rippled through my professional detachment and tore right into my soul. That was it. That was the climax. The moment the boy was taken, replaying for all eternity. My hand flew to the keyboard to dispatch a car, a purely reflex action born of years of training. But I stopped, my fingers frozen over the keys. He's gone. This already happened. It's not real. The boy was sobbing now. His screams turned into choking, gasping pleas.
Please, you promised. You said you'd send help. Don't leave me.
Felt tears welling up in my eyes. I was on a 911 dispatch. My job was to send help, and I was going to sit here and listen to a child be abducted or murdered and do nothing. I'm sorry, I whispered, my voice thick. I'm so sorry. I reached for the terminate button on my screen. My fingers was a millimeter from the glass. That was it. I was choosing to save myself. I was choosing to let him go. And then the screaming stopped. It wasn't a fade out. It was a abrupt cut, as if switch had been flipped. The roar of the static dropped to a low, sinister hum. The line was still open. Silence. My heart was in my throat. Did I do it? Then a new sound came through the headset. It wasn't a boy. It was a man's voice. A whisper, just as terrified as the boy's had been, but older, hoarser. It was disoriented by the same underwater static, same swarm of electric insects. It was a voice trying to push its way through the impossible distance, through time itself. And it was a voice I felt, deep in my bones. I should have recognized from an older staff photo in the hall. The whisper was faint, but utterly, terrifyingly clear.
He's here.
I froze, my finger hovering over the screen. The voice was rugged, desperate, broken.
He sees you. Through the line. He's looking right at you.
A cold dread, so absolute and profound it felt like death itself, washed over me. I slowly, involuntarily looked up from my console, across the darkened dispatch center, towards the plate glass window that looked out into the night. There was nothing there but the reflection of my own terrified face in the glass, my pale skin in the glow of the monitors. The whispering in my ear continued, a final chilling plea from a place beyond hope.
Please, get me out of here.
Woo! Boy, that... Holy shit, that was good. I liked it. That was, for some reason, listening to, like, reading and, like, doing the voices, but the one that kept getting me was the little boy. And I don't know if it was just the way it was worded or the way maybe I was delivering it. I don't know, but it creeped me the fuck out. Hearing, like, on the other side of this phone call, a little boy, and you can't do nothing to help him. That was so fucking good and terrifying. I loved it. We will be reading more of him, of his works. I'm just letting you know now. We're going to be reading more. Again, please go check him out. It is gamalfrank or the Supreme Frank over on Reddit. That's his home base, I think. He does have a Facebook and then another link to help like donate money for, his time and stuff. Please go give him love. He deserves it. He is first story reading out of the park. I love it. There's another one on here that I saw that is like a trucker one. I definitely want to read that one. And so that being said, I think we're going to call it. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you made it this far. I love you so much. Let's try to get this channel to, 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. It'll be fucking awesome. And then maybe we can change the set or something. I don't know. We can do something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But we're going to do this together. Please remember, like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, you are loved, you are cared for, and you matter. Bye-bye. Oh, man, that fucking shit was good. Please help. Don't let me out.